Let's look at how to balance the chemical reaction equations in today's review. So the first thing I'm going to do when I look at the problem, I'll look at the reactants that I start with and the products that I end with. And I'm going to list the elements that are in each of those compounds. So hydrogen, boron, and oxygen are found throughout the problem. And I'll start counting using the subscripts. 3 hydrogens, there's no subscript on the boron, it counts itself one time. 3 oxygens, separate the reactants from the products. Keep counting. We did this one as a do now the other day. 2 and 1. Now I'm looking for something that balances. Nothing is matching up. There's, for example, 1 boron in the reactants and 6 in the products. That can't be. Those 6 had to come from somewhere. So let's put them over here on the reactant side by multiplying by a coefficient of 6. That multiplies everything in the formula by 6. So 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. Now I need over here for these two to add up to 18. 4 plus 14 equals 18. To make this into a 14, I have to multiply by 7. 7 times 2 is 14. That 7 is going to multiply everything in the formula, so the 1 becomes a 7 also. And now I have 4 plus 14 equals 18. 11 plus 7 equals 18. So these match, and these match, and the 6's match. So I have the same number of atoms of each element in the reactants and products, making this a balanced reaction equation. Let's try the next one. I'll list the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen and count their atoms. Separate the reactants from the products. And then look for something that needs to be balanced. So for example, I see 2 and 1 aren't balanced. So if I wanted this to be 2 carbons in the product side, I'll multiply. This whole thing gets multiplied by 2, so that becomes 2, and that's 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. That's not going to balance. So maybe what I need to do is, maybe I need to fix that. Let's double this. Let's make that 2, and then that'll be 4, and that'll be 2, because now we have the same even numbers on both sides for the oxygen. Now hydrogen on this side is 2, and now that's not balanced, so I'm going to multiply by 2 here, and that'll become 4, and that'll become 4, and now I'm making more problems for myself. 4 doesn't balance 2, so maybe instead of a 2 I should have used a 4. So 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. That's what I should have used. Now 8 plus 2 equals 10. And if I want this to be a 10, I'll multiply by 5. And now it balances. 4 carbons, 4 hydrogens, 10 oxygens. Now that was a little bit tricky, I know, because I started in one place, I had to go back over here, and every time I went back and forth, I had to fix something that I had changed. So be patient with yourself and just follow the steps, and it should work out for you. Let's look at the next one. Carbon, hydrogen, chlorine. That's a C and an L, not a C and an I. And I'll count 10 carbons and 16 hydrogens, 2 chlorines. 1 carbon, 1 hydrogen, 1 chlorine. Okay, well this looks like it's going to be easy to get started on. Carbon needs to balance on this side, so if I multiply by 10, I've got 10 carbons. Hydrogen needs to balance on this side, so if I multiply by 16, I've got 16 hydrogens, and I've also got 16 chlorines. So now I've got to get that 2 to be a 16. If I multiply by 8, 8 times 2 is 16, and now I've got carbons balanced, hydrogens balanced, and chlorines balanced. That one was pretty straightforward. I like that one. Let's try another one. Now, of course, I'm going through these really fast, but you are looking at a video, so that means you can stop, you can pause, you can rewind, and you can ask questions. I'm going to list the elements here. Now this time that is an I, that is an iodine, and I'll count 2 hydrogens, 1 sulfur, 4 oxygens, There's no iodine on this side. Over here, there's 1 hydrogen, 1 iodine. Reactants and products, 2, 1. Iodine is 2, hydrogen is 2, oxygen is 1. Okay, now let's set about to balancing this thing. 4 and 1. That's a big difference there. I'm going to need to fix that first because that's going to make everything else change too. I've also got this 2 in that 1. That's going to have to change. So let me do the 4 and the 1 first. Let's try a 4 here and see what that does. Okay. And now let's try this 2 in that 1. Okay, so if I do a 2 here, and 2 and 2, and that's not fixing things here because now I've got 2 plus 2 makes 4 hydrogens, and 2 plus 8 makes 10 hydrogens on this side. So maybe what I really want is 2 plus something that equals 10. Because if this is 10, I want this to be 10 over here. So instead of a 2 here, how about I try an 8? Okay, so I'm not going to use 2, I'm going to use 8. Because then 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 1 is 8. And now I can get this 8 to balance over here. I multiply by 4, then this becomes an 8. That's a plus sign there, so don't get confused. I'm not counting atoms there. So now 2 plus 8 equals 10, and that balances those 10. The sulfurs balance, the oxygens balance, and the iodines balance. See, I had to go back and fix something that I changed before. You can do that just as long as you keep track of what you've done. Alright, let's do the last one. Calcium, phosphorus, oxygen, silicon. Calcium, phosphorus, oxygen, silicon. Oh, I had an extra line. Oh, there's carbon over there. Carbon. Alright, so there's 3 calciums, and I'm going to distribute the subscript of 2 into the parentheses to make 2 phosphorus. 2 multiplies by that, 2 multiplies by that, so there's 8 oxygens. Silicon is 1 and oxygen is 2. Carbon here is 1. Separate the reactants from products and count 1, 1, 3. P over here is 4. C is 1. O is 2. Okay. All kinds of stuff going on in this one. So I've got 3 and 1 don't balance. I could fix that. I've got 2 and 4. Those don't balance. I could fix that. You know, before I fix this 3 and this 1, since I'm going to have to do something to that 2 to make it balance this 4, probably I should do that step first, because this isn't going to be a 3 for very long. So let's just try that first and see what happens. I want that 4 and that 2 to balance. See where that goes. So I'm going to multiply this by 2, because that will make the phosphorus into a 4, and that shall balance over there. But that's going to make some big numbers everywhere else. Okay, so now what do I have to do? 6 and 1. Well, then I'll multiply by 6 here, and everything gets multiplied by 6. 18, 6, okay, getting some big old numbers. Well, that 6 and that 1 don't balance, so let's multiply by 6 here. And that's 12, and that's 6. Alright, now, things look pretty good so far. 16 plus 12 equals 28. 18 plus what would be 28? I need that to be a 10. So I'm going to multiply this by 5 to make that 10, and that becomes 5. And that 5 and that 1 don't balance. So I can go over here and I can make that a 5. And now it balances. 6, 6, 4, 4, 28, 18 plus 10 equals 28, 5, and 5. Oh, and those 6s. Whoo, did I blow you away with that one? I think I was surprised that I got that one right the first time through. I thought I was going to have to make this video all over again. So that's very quickly how you can balance these practice problems, and you can try the other ones on our other assignments if you haven't already done so.